Let me show you how to easily make huge returns in the crypto market in just 30 minutes a month. This strategy is low risk and it's actually surprisingly simple. I've been using it myself for 16 months roughly, and it's netted me over 20x returns. Let's get into it. So it's all about trading altcoin cycles. Let me tell you what that means. In the crypto market, we have seasons. We have Bitcoin seasons and altcoin seasons. Bitcoin season, that's when Bitcoin outperforms altcoins over a long period of time. Altcoin season, that's the opposite. That's when altcoins explode and they outperform Bitcoin significantly over a long period of time. And trading these two seasons is the key to compounding your returns exponentially. So on the chart you see here, it's just an illustration of the latest altcoin cycle. Back in Q4 of 2022, for 3 quarters in a row, Bitcoin put in better returns than altcoins. Then something happened. Altcoins started outperforming Bitcoin. This was around October when it really kicked off in 2023. When the DePIN sector exploded and the meme coins exploded and it just was crazy. It was all the hype around the Bitcoin ETF and stuff like that. But altcoins were outperforming Bitcoin by a lot. So what's the strategy? What are we going to do concretely? We are going to buy altcoins using our Bitcoin at the end of Bitcoin season. Then we're going to sell those altcoins back to Bitcoin at the end of altcoin season. So you want to be one step ahead of the season. So again, this is the Bitcoin season. This is when you want to hold Bitcoin because Bitcoin outperforms altcoins. And at the end of the season, when it's nearing the altcoin season, you want to buy altcoins using your Bitcoin. And then you want to ride the altcoin wave towards the end of altcoin season and you want to buy Bitcoin using the altcoins. So you go back and forth between altcoins and Bitcoin. So that's the basic strategy for you. We want to buy altcoins at the end of Bitcoin season and buy Bitcoin at the end of altcoin season. Because if we do this, we will compound our returns exponentially. Let me show you some actual real numbers. So the previous altcoin cycle lasted from Q4 of 2022 all the way up to Q2 of 2024. This was a super long cycle. They usually don't last that long. But you can see that if you held altcoins during this cycle, the orange line, you would have roughly 262% returns. If you did the same with Bitcoin, you bought it in Q4 of 22, held it until Q2 of 24, you would have 317% returns. But if you traded the altcoin cycle and you held Bitcoin in the Bitcoin season and altcoins during the altcoin season, your returns would be 571%. So roughly 2 times the returns you would get by just holding Bitcoin or altcoins. 2x doesn't sound like a lot. But over time, 2x is insanely powerful. Let me tell you why. Because this is a 2x on your Bitcoin, not on your dollar. And if you 2x your Bitcoin while Bitcoin is going up in price, the returns compound exponentially. And these numbers are calculated using the average altcoin returns. And since almost every altcoin out there underperforms Bitcoin, but the average is above Bitcoin, that means that the good altcoins massively outperform Bitcoin. And that's just math and statistics. It has to be the case that some altcoins are just exploding because most altcoins don't do anything. So if you pick the right coins, then you're going to do way better than 571. So this is just an example of the average return, but you can expect to do way better than that if you pick the right coins. I made another video about how to build the perfect portfolio, so go check that out if you're interested. So let me paint a picture of what this actually looks like in the real world. Let's say back in Q2 of 2024, you buy 1 Bitcoin. At that time, it costs roughly, let's say $20,000. And then you hold it for 3 quarters, and then in Q2 of 2023, at some point you go over to altcoins. And let's say you find some good altcoins, not just the average. Then you can expect to make way more returns, like this. Let's say you make 1,000% returns. So you basically 3x'd what you would have gotten if you just held Bitcoin. If you sell that back to Bitcoin, after you have 1,000% returns and Bitcoin has gone up 3x in price, now you're getting 3 Bitcoin for the altcoins. So you started out with 1 Bitcoin, and then you switched over to altcoins during the altcoin season, and you outperformed Bitcoin by a lot. And and then you sold it back to Bitcoin. And now you have 3 Bitcoin. So after this, you would go back to Bitcoin, right? Because this is where we bought Bitcoin, and then we held Bitcoin during the Bitcoin season, and then we switched over to altcoins, and then we held the altcoins during the altcoin season, and now we want to sell back to Bitcoin. So let's imagine you manage to 10x your Bitcoin bag over a couple of cycles, and at the same time, Bitcoin goes 3x in price. Your return on investment would then be 30x because you got 10 times the amount of Bitcoin at 3 times the price. So the returns compound exponentially. So now the $1 million question quite literally is, how do we time the cycle? How do we know when we're going from a Bitcoin season to an altcoin season? We are using indicators. That's what we're doing. So I personally use 3 indicators. This is the Altseason Index. It's stupidly simple, but it's highly effective. At the moment it's at 35. That just means that 35% of the top 50 altcoins have outperformed Bitcoin in the past 90 days. If this is high, it means that altcoins have outperformed for 3 months or more. And altcoins are therefore expensive relative to Bitcoin. So when it's high, when we are in altcoin season, which is 75% or higher, we want to sell our altcoins over to Bitcoin because altcoins have outperformed Bitcoin for a long time. It's time to go back to Bitcoin. If it's low, if it's in this region, below 25, it means that altcoins have underperformed Bitcoin for a long time. And it's time to buy altcoins because altcoins are cheap relative to Bitcoin. So you want to go from Bitcoin to altcoins when it's in this region, and you want to go from altcoins to Bitcoin in this region. That's basically what you do. You just check this indicator once a week maybe, and if it's high, you sell your altcoins to Bitcoin, and if it's low, you sell your Bitcoin to altcoins. It's that simple, actually. Then you can get more fancy and use, for example, this is the others dominance. This looks at the market share of small and medium-sized altcoins. So if this chart goes up, it means that small altcoins are outperforming large altcoins and Bitcoin. So in the bull market of 2021, we got this rally. So the others dominance went from 5% to 20%. And that equated to roughly 17x on average for small altcoins. That's insane. That's totally crazy. And it seems like we might do the same thing now. We have repeated the same pattern. We go up a little bit, then we crash back down to the green line, and then we get a big rally. Then we did the exact same, up, get down to the green line, and we have started a rally. You see this orange thing here. And the timing also fits the 4-year cycle. But that's too technical for this video. But just know that it looks really promising for small and medium-sized altcoins on the long term. This is not some short-term prediction. I have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow. I just think that in the long term, small and medium-sized altcoins are going to outperform large and Bitcoin. The last indicator we use is the Bitcoin dominance. This is the same as others dominance, but instead of small and medium-sized altcoins, it shows the market share of Bitcoin. So if this thing goes down, it means that altcoins in general are outperforming Bitcoin. It has been going up for almost 2 years, actually. And it seems to be at the end of a rising wedge, which is a bearish pattern, and it's hitting a big resistance zone. So you can see it has been tested as support, struggle here, support, resistance. Yeah, this is a major resistance and support zone for the Bitcoin dominance. So it looks likely that it's going to go down, which means that altcoins are going to outperform Bitcoin. So this stuff actually works. I have a course that teaches this method. Click the link in the description. Thank you for watching.